Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Coming Out Cosmic podcast. My name is Christine Nowinski, awakening coach, ET contactee, and founder of Coming Out Cosmic. This podcast is for those who welcome the strange and esoteric, the people who want to believe in strange things, or if they do believe in strange things, maybe they don't have anybody to talk to about these strange things. So you are in the right place if you love all things esoteric. Today, I'm very fortunate to be with my friend Julie McDonald, who's somebody that I found in the alien world, someone who also loves talking about all things otherworldly, as we like to say it. Welcome, Julie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
In today's podcast episode, we are going to talk more about Julie's QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy session. For those of you who don't know about it, it is something that is a very, very deep past life regression therapy that was created by Dolores Cannon, who unfortunately passed away in 2014. But QHHT is usually one of the first ways that people start figuring out their alien ties and that they're connected galactically. For those of you who don't know Dolores Cannon, she has a lot of incredible books out there where she digs deep into all of her quantum healing hypnosis therapy sessions. She talks extensively about aliens. I'm actually reading the book Keepers of the Garden right now. Have you read that one, Julie?
Yeah, that one was good. My favorite is actually Between Death and Life and Jesus and the Essenes.
How did you get into quantum healing hypnosis therapy?
It was a little bit of a journey. I started out discovering, because I got really sick back in 2013, and by 2015 I couldn't work anymore. And long story short, we went bankrupt, lost the business, lost the house, all that stuff, like this huge dark night of the soul, and I had a willful near-death experience in late 2017 where I decided to stay, mainly because I didn't want my husband wondering if there was anything he could have done. So
wow.
I just wandered from November of 2017 to February of 22, maybe late 21 is when I discovered tarot, because I got into the adult coloring. Back to the first part of my loop, I got into doing adult coloring, and through that I discovered a color your own tarot deck. I remembered this time when I was a little girl. I was like 8 years old, and I went to my grandma's friend's house with my grandma, who read cards for my grandmother, and I wasn't supposed to be part of that, so I was just sitting in the living room playing with all of Donna's many cats, and like one ear glued to what was happening between Grandma and Donna. And so, yeah, the tarot jumped out at me. Long story short, that led to me attending the Tarot Mysticism Academy, and then I found the Dolores Cannon stuff, and then I discovered Holly Duckworth and started listening to the Laura D. Channel sessions that Holly and her did in the beginning. I just knew that I had to have a QHHT session. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know when or how, but finally in September of 22, I had my session with a practitioner here in my hometown.
Holly Duckworth is a QHHT level 3 practitioner. She studied under Dolores Cannon. She did my QHHT session. She did Laura's as well. And for those of you who don't know Laura, she is our trusted channeler here at lauradchannels.com, but also she comes on Coming Out Cosmic quite often. So if you're interested in a trusted channeler, check out Laura, but also in a trusted QHHT practitioner, check out Holly Duckworth from Aware Care Durango. So that's really interesting that your spiritual awakening, ever since being interested in like cards and tarot as a child, it kind of led you all the way to QHHT. And I find that that's a path that a lot of people actually take when they're ready for it. I feel like it just falls into your lap when you're ready for it.
Yeah, it definitely fell in my lap. One thing I wanted to point out too is if you can't get to Durango to have a session with Holly, she offers this amazing thing where she takes you through 3 months. You meet once a month with her for 3 months, and she takes you through these light hypnosis sessions where you can literally explore your QHHT session further. And I did 2 rounds of that with Holly and had even more insight brought up. So if you can't get to Holly, you can certainly do the after sessions with her, because she can do those through online.
you can have a quantum healing hypnosis therapy session with a practitioner and then Holly will do the follow-up, or what do you mean by the aftercare?
That's exactly it. She may not even be offering this still. I'm pretty sure she does, though, where she meets with you once a month. I don't even know what it's called, but you could certainly find it on her website.
awarecaredurango.com, I think, is her website. That's excellent. Holly is such a great resource. Going into your quantum healing hypnosis therapy session, you said that you were going through like a dark night of the soul, and that was really the impetus for you wanting to do this self-discovery through QHHT, right?
Yeah, it really was. I had my whole identity wrapped up in my business. When I lost my business, I was just free falling.
That happens to a lot of people, I think, especially now. Identities are changing so drastically because now, especially in this year of 2025, we're finding that because it's the year of the snake in the Chinese zodiac, I know you like talking about this stuff too, it's all about shedding the skin and shedding what no longer serves you. So I find that a lot of people's identities that no longer serve them are actually literally being shed. And I know this happened for me because in January 2025, I got laid off. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not this person in this career anymore. Who am I? So I think that, yes, if you're going through a major identity crisis, QHHT is definitely something to explore. So when you did your QHHT research, you said that you first found somebody in Montana.
Yeah, I actually went to what is the website called? It was the website that Dolores's daughter, Julia Cannon, operates. They have a find a practitioner in your area section of that website, and that's what I used to find my practitioner. And she was absolutely amazing. I felt really comfortable with her. She was only level 2, but she was just stellar.
I'll link that in the show notes if I can find it. I think I know what website you're talking about because I think Holly sent it to me before. But that's a great resource for people who are looking for a practitioner in their area, because they say through the way that Dolores Cannon teaches QHHT, you really need to have the session in person. And if you do it remote, it doesn't give you the same results. Do you agree with that?
Well, that, and there's dangers because Dolores's method takes you so deep under hypnosis that, like, if all of a sudden the Zoom link fails, sometimes you have to back out of the Zoom link and relog back in because, like, the internet's unstable. You can literally be left floating out there and your practitioner would have no way to help you back.
Oh my gosh, Julie, I did not even think about that because there is somebody else on TikTok who I'm friends with, and this person talks about how they do QHHT sessions online. I think I said something how like, oh yes, like QHHT, do it however you feel comfortable. But the way that Dolores Cannon teaches is that it should be in the physical.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that the session is going to be ineffective if you do it on Zoom. It's just you run that risk.
Right, and who wants to be left traveling in the astral? Like, that's really
Not
scary.
me.
Actually, a quick story about Holly and traveling in the astral, and then we'll get back into your session and how you prepared for it. I had Holly come on TikTok Live not too long ago, and she was talking about a session that she had with a client where the client was talking about Pleiadian portals in their backyard. Were you there on that session?
I have listened to it, yes, and that was
Okay.
fascinating. It was great.
And so Holly was saying how the higher self very strictly told people not to enter into these stone huts, which were very small, like 3 to 5 feet tall, maybe even smaller. Yeah, 3 to 4 feet tall. Don't enter into the stone huts because they're Pleiadian portals. And if you're to go inside and to start meditating, you will get lost in the astral because they're that powerful.
Yeah, that blew me away. That absolutely blew me out of the water. And I especially love the part where she was talking about trying to get a clear photo. And the Pleiadians were like, "Jeez." And she was like, how come I can't get a clear photo? And it's because they were posing for the picture.
Yes, all these rainbow beings were all over. If you guys want to check out more on that TikTok Live, I do have a couple of clips about it in my TikTok profile. But enough about me and Holly. Let's get back into Julie. How did you prepare for the session?
It was really hilarious. I had been working with this book by Nicholas David Nann, Your Soul Contract Decoded. And he has a really interesting backstory. He's a walk-in soul. I think it was age 12. His vessel was age 12. And the previous soul that was occupying that vessel relinquished the vessel to him to use for his life. He goes in depth about that on his website, but I was into that book. It brought me to all kinds of questions, like why was I born club-footed? Why was I born left-handed and my dad chose to make me be right-handed? And all these types of things. I discovered I have a triangle of binding underneath my ring finger on my left hand that like literally bound my gifts for a time in this life, and I wanted to know about that. I don't know if you've seen that meme where the guy he's got all the papers plugged to the wall behind him and like yarn from sheet to sheet, and he's making that gesture. That was literally me preparing for my session. So I had all these questions. I mean, you can see it was like 4 pages of stuff. I didn't really understand what the QHHT process was about. It was basically to find out like your purpose and how you're doing and that type of thing. But I wanted to know all these little details, and like I was literally going to grill my higher self. The practitioner did say that my session was unusual. My higher self was very conversational, sounded just like I'm talking right now. And that was due to me being so connected to my higher self that I was literally thinking that we weren't.
With QHHT, the practitioner will actually connect to your higher self so that information can be gathered. When you do QHHT, you're basically unconscious and the higher self comes through. So the higher self can present itself in whichever way would make the most sense for the situation and for the practitioner. My session, my higher self came through and there was a big bright blue light that like immediately came through, and I saw it because I was more conscious during my session, but some people don't remember their sessions at all. When my higher self came through with the blue light, it was very obvious that it was my higher self because I was speaking very slow, but it was my higher self speaking through me. So what you're saying is that you were speaking at a normal pace. It was very hard to even tell the difference of your voice and your cadence versus the higher self.
That's what the practitioner said. She said it was very unusual to have a person talk just conversationally. My higher self literally made a point of having me go to sleep. I don't remember the session. My higher self said that if I had stayed awake, I would try to run things, which is so me.
You don't remember your session at all?
Very, very little. I was blown away listening to the recording.
See, I wish that I had that experience because I think that in my hypnosis session, I was so aware of everything that was coming through that a part of my brain was thinking, am I making this up? Because I was still so awake. And I know that I wasn't. There were some things that were said that like I personally did not believe at the time, and now it's coming to light that, oh yeah, that probably is going to happen, etc. But it's so fascinating. Anything else that came through in your session that you wanted to share?
I was under for about an hour and a half. There were moments where I literally would break into the session. It's funny because I transcribed my whole recording after I got it from the practitioner, and you can tell when I was breaking through because it switches from you speak to I speak. I kept breaking in and saying, I'm not hypnotized right now. Like my eyes are open and I can see the light on the ceiling. This isn't happening. This isn't real. And I don't remember doing that.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I kept insisting, this isn't real. This isn't happening. So I see why the higher self wanted me to kind of take a back seat.
Isn't it said that the higher self knows us so well? They know and they can predict exactly what we're going to do in every single moment.
It's true. It's so true. And listening to the recording, I do realize now that, yeah, I'm pretty much am my higher self. I just didn't realize it because the way I'm speaking to you now is exactly how my higher self spoke to the practitioner.
For new listeners who are maybe new to their spiritual awakening, they're unsure like what a higher self even is. How would you explain in the most basic terms what a higher self is?
The higher self, to me, the way I understand it, it is you purified. It's you without the ego and the judgments and fear and self-doubt and all that. It's just a purified form of yourself. So if you ever have one of those moments where you're just in a flow state where you feel really good and everything's going really great, that is when you're most connected to your higher self.
Wow, that is incredible validation, because when you were saying that, I got the chills. So for me, that's always validation that I should listen and yes, you're onto something. And I had just talked to somebody yesterday on TikTok who wanted to know how to connect with their higher self. And for me, I was like, you are most connected to your higher self when you are in your most joyful, most blissful form, doing something that you love to do. So during those moments, ask a question to yourself in your head and intend for it to be answered by your higher self, and listen, because it is most likely going to be answered by your higher self. You just have to really trust in your own intuition and in that connection. So that's a really great definition.
I really liked the way ooh, and my left ear is ringing really strong right now. I'm listening. I liked the way Julia Cannon described it as, you think of yourself like if between my hands is a little stick figure, that's my vessel, that's my body right there. And the oversoul is like this big, huge ball of self that is above that little body self. And Laura brought it home when she described, I think it was Raw one time in a cosmic conversation, where she described it as like the higher self packs a bag of itself to bring to the vessel, because only a very small portion of the energy that is your full higher self can fit into this vessel. So it thinks about, in the pre-session before birth, it thinks about, well, what do we want to take? We're going to take this sunshiny personality that Julie has, and we're going to take this gift of psychometry with us, and we're going to take this gift of, whatever it may be that they want to pack into this life. And that's what you bring down to yourself. It doesn't mean that you can't channel different portions of that oversoul. You certainly can if you meditate and learn to connect with the higher self. But it can only bring so much of itself to a vessel.
That makes a lot of sense. And plus, it's all by choice too. So like, let's say you're living this lifetime, and in previous lifetimes, you had a specific gift of, let's say, very, very, very strong clairvoyant. Well, your higher self can choose whether or not to give you that gift in this lifetime based on your goals, based on who you are, based on who you want to be, etc. So I love that definition of like just knowing that it is you in all capacities in every single life and every single experience your soul has ever had. And this you that we're talking to right now is just a fraction of what's possible.
Yeah,
so that's really beautiful.
It's really mind-blowing.
Was there anything during your QHHT session that you found surprising about yourself?
I was really blown away by the fact that we're so connected that I don't think we are, because I was doing all these things where I was trying to connect to the higher self, this connect to your higher self meditation and this, that, and the other thing. And my higher self is like, seriously, you're doing another one of these? And that became more clear after the QHHT session. But the biggest whoa moment was the gift that I brought here to Earth, is that I am a crystal. I operate the way people use crystals in meditation. So you having this conversation with me, that's running in the background. Like there's things that are happening just by interacting with me that you might have a revelation later about something or that type of thing. And I'd been doing this natural healing process with my husband. I actually got sick one time. I'll tell you about that in a second. But I started doing this natural healing process where I would put my hand on both sides of his chakra. If I was going to do his heart chakra, I would put one on the front and one on the back. And I would literally suck out impurities, and then I was blowing them into this piece of Tektite that I was using. And I don't always need the crystal. Sometimes I can just make a noise and get rid of it, but that's what my higher self said that I do. I can act like a crystal. And one time my husband had COVID and I wanted to help him feel better. I'm like, I know that I can heal this. I know that I can make him feel better. So I went into the bedroom while he was sleeping, and he's always given me permission to do healings on him. He's like, if you feel moved, do it. So I didn't feel like I needed permission from him, which I will normally ask people first. But I went into the bedroom and I was siphoning off, like visualizing the impurities of the virus coming off and blowing them into the air. Well, I literally made my physical body sick because I was breathing in his air. So he felt better the next day and really made a quick recovery. And then I had the COVID.
Oh, no. Wow, but that is such an amazing gift that you have, to act like a crystal. Is that something that came through the QHHT session, or was that something you discovered later on as you connected?
No, that came right through the QHHT session. My higher self, I listened to my session yesterday so that I could remember some of this stuff. And my higher self said, you are a crystal, you heal like a crystal by proximity, and also that you have the ability to transmute through breath. So you can literally suck things out of people and blow it into a crystal to transmute, which my favorite is Tektite, because Tektite is cosmic and can take on energies like that. But that really blew me away.
I never knew that. And for as long as I've known you, I feel like you've never mentioned this crystal ability. And it's amazing because during this episode, when you were like doing the blowing and the shoo shoo noise, like I was getting the chills the entire time. So I think that's just total validation.
I don't know if it works remotely. Maybe it does, since you got the chills. I've never tried it remotely.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Wow. In a session, one generally goes because they want to know their mission and their purpose in this lifetime. So that would be another reason why somebody goes to a QHHT session. Was there anything else that you wanted to share from that session? Any insights or anything surprising?
I actually tried it on purpose one time. I had gone to the store. I was determined to get something at the Ace Hardware store. I can't even remember what I was after, but I was determined. I'm like, said to my friend Marilyn, I said, you've got to take me to the Ace Hardware. We've got to go there. And when we were checking out, this gentleman that was checking us out, I just got this inner knowing that he was having a really hard day. So I asked him how he was doing, and he literally just, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to share that I was having such a rough time and that type of thing. And I said, oh, okay, here's one of these moments. The higher self told me that I have this ability, so I'm going to try this out. And I said, is it okay if I put my hand on your shoulder? And he said, yeah, that's okay. And so I put my hand on his shoulder and I looked him in the eye and I said, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. And it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to blurb to strangers. And I just comforted him. It was really weird. It was probably about 4 or 5 months later that I happened to be going to the Ace Hardware with my husband, and the same checker was there. And it turned out to be he knew my husband. And so he literally, because he wasn't checking anybody out at the time, he came over to us and he's like, Jeff, is this your friend? Do you know this person? Jeff's like, yeah, this is my wife. And he looked at me and he said, I can't tell you enough how grateful I am for you recognizing that I was in emotional distress that day. And he said, I have felt so much better since having that conversation. I'm getting bright little pinpoint flashes as I'm saying this. I can see it on the screen. And he said, can I give you a hug? And I said, sure, of course you can. That was a really affirming moment for me. I'm getting a little misty here.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story, because it is validation that what comes through the higher self, especially through QHHT, is to be trusted. And then it should be applied, because I feel like our higher self is always telling us stuff, always talking with us. And unless we acknowledge and apply it, sometimes I feel like they could get frustrated. I don't know if they experience the emotion of frustration, but I know if I were a higher self, I'd be like, come on, listen. Because my friend Rosanna was talking about how she'll get chills sometimes, but she doesn't pay attention to them. And I'm like, that's your higher self trying to tell you to pay attention. So they're going to stop sending you chills unless you acknowledge it. So that's a great follow-up advice of what to do after a QHHT session. Take to heart what the higher self says and actually apply it.
I don't know if they get frustrated like we do, but my higher self did say in session that sometimes they want to take me by the shoulders and look me in the eye.
Not shake you. They said they're going to look you in the eye.
Yeah, just take me by the shoulders and look me in the eye. I don't think there was a shake you in there. Maybe there was. Let me look at my transcript. I don't think so. Anyway, no, I'm pretty sure my higher self didn't say they wanted to shake me.
Oh, that's so funny. So we talked a lot today about things that the higher self will tell you during a session. Is there something that your higher self would not tell you specifically in your session?
There were a lot of questions that they chose not to answer. I went back over my huge sheet of questions. They did not show me any parallel lives. They did not explore a death experience with me, which these are standard things that you explore in a QHHT session. They didn't talk about my soul family. They didn't talk about my guides, my starseed origin, basically because they said that it would throw me off of my path, that I was on a really good path, and they didn't want there to be distractions. They didn't want me to get off on tangents exploring my origins, when what I really needed to be focusing on was my energy and working with my energy and learning how to use that.
Wow. Okay. They didn't want to talk to you about your galactic origin. Do you have more details on that?
I actually went through a private session with Laura from Laura D. Channels. I was told that my race looks insectile, but it is not an insectile race. And that is like the most information I've ever gotten. She connected with my higher self, and I learned that at one point I was a Viking wife. I've had other flashes in meditation of past lives and things. I learned from Laura also that I have trouble with the left side of my body, like my left ankle swells more than my right, these type of things. My migraines are on my left side because I was crushed by a rock in one of my lives, and I actually was trapped under it for some time while they were trying to help me or get me out, and I did expire in that manner. So I've carried that energy into this life.
Very interesting. So it's always about self-discovery, whether your higher self is going to let you know the information right up front. It's about self-discovery through other means. You brought up that you talked to Laura D from lauradchannels.com to kind of expand on your QHHT session. So that would be a great place to start for listeners if they are interested in knowing more about the types of stuff that they can discover in QHHT. If they just want more of a private channeled session, they can do that through Laura, and I'll link her information in the show notes. Is there anything that you wanted to gift the audience in terms of knowledge from yourself or from your higher self when it comes to anything in this lifetime? Any last message you wanted to share here, Julie?
When I was reviewing my session last night in preparation for the podcast, I noticed that the most repeated phrase in the transcripts that I had written down were, "It's okay." My higher self wanted me to know that it's very important to stop judging myself. It's important to go easy on ourselves and be patient and gentle with ourselves. When I was pulling cards for the week this morning, I used the Kim Cran's Archetypes deck, and I literally pulled the self.
Wow.
And it was kind of cool because the way she looked at it was, am I the stew or am I the chef? And the higher self observes us, right? They watch us. They are right there with us at every moment. And the ego is the stew. The ego is like, all the stuff that's happening in the cauldron. But if we can step out of the soup and become the chef, become the observer. Holly always told me the best thing you can ask yourself is, wow, she seems a little upset right now. I wonder what's going on with her. And refer to myself in the third person. I spent a long time referring to myself in the third person. It was actually kind of funny. Jeff really got a kick out of that, and we had some good laughs about it. But there were a lot of moments where like, are you okay? Why are you so upset right now? Is there something that I can do for you? Just trying to connect to the observer and step out of the judgment. I still struggle with it. I judge myself for everything, literally, and I have to have conversations with myself. Julie, that's judgment. Let's step into observation and why are you feeling this way and getting in touch with it. So yeah, that was like my biggest takeaway. It's okay.
I love that. It is okay. And it's just like the message you gave that guy at the Ace Hardware store. It is okay. And sometimes people just need to be reminded that. So whether it's from a podcast episode or it's from your higher self, it is okay, everybody. I know times are really challenging right now and a lot of crazy things are happening in this world, but you are not alone and you are not crazy. You are just very, very cosmic. So Julie, where can our listeners find you if they'd like to know more information about you or QHHT, etc.?
The best place to get in touch with me, really, and the social media that I connect to the most is my Instagram. It's at JNJGRMCD. If they DM me there, if they want to, chat or explore any of this further, I'm open for conversation. I'm pretty conversational, so that's the best place. And then my TikTok as well. I have a lot of videos that show my healing journey at JAERAEMCD. So that's my TikTok. And if people want to watch any of my videos on my healing journey, that's mostly what I post about is revelations and healings, that type of stuff.
Awesome. And I will link all that information in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Julie, for being here today. It's always an honor to be in your presence. And I can't wait for us to explore more things on this podcast and explore more things together, because it is so important to find your soul tribe, people who are thinking very similarly to you, who can accept you, who try to be non-judgmental. And I'm so happy to have you as a friend. So thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
This was great. Thank you, Christine.
Absolutely. And we will connect with you all again in the next podcast episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and bye for now.